This poem is not for conservatives. This poem is not for liberals. This poem is for the underfed, underclothed, underprivileged, underused, underground street prophets who not only preach the gospel of an apocalyptical war of change that will pound mountains into plains, but have the plans, diagrams, and homespun video montages of how you can thrive, survive, and come out victorious. This poem is not for fans of fashion. This poem is not for the shabby chic, the goth, the prep, the metrosexual. This poem is for anyone who doesn't just wear t-shirts with images of Che, Emiliano Zapata, Dr. King, Malcolm X, Gandhi, Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, Nelson Mandela, Jesus Christ, the Buddha, the Dalai Lama, or any American Aborigine, but is so familiar with their wisdom they often quote them in their sleep. This poem is not for classic rock aficionados. This poem is not for pop music, top 40, Billboard, no artistic talent, no artistic spirit. Check out my surgically enhanced tits, ass, crotch, face, legs, hair. Pay no attention to the words you hear, worshippers. This poem is for musical pathfinders who have been listening to the band for 10 years before a major recording label bought a fucking clue and signed them, only to put a lackluster advertisement campaign on and render them to the back of the shelves until some Hollywood megastar requested a song in their next movie, causing the other 90% of Americans to buy, download, rip, share, or otherwise obtain the song, failing to hear the rest of the album, and hence not buying the second album, leading the band to be featured on a VH1 countdown of so-called one-hit wonders. This poem is not for or about beautiful, popular, superficial people. This poem is for people of substance, people who dress the way they want to, act the way they want to, talk the way they want to, think the way they want to, because they are an individual capable and confident in forming their own opinions. This poem is for people who, because of their individuality, are shunned by polite society, left to be abused, neglected, slandered, spat upon, and harassed, because polite society judges them too short, too tall, too big, too small, too fat, too skinny, too light, too dark, too weird, too poor, too loud, too quiet, too unfit to share their limelight. This poem is for enlightened people who know that love is the ultimate healer and the world's deadliest killer. For people who know that sex is superficial, and if you starve for it, you'll always be left hungry. For people who know that revolutions can be won with words and ideals, not just bullets, bombs, and missiles. This is a poem for ordinary people who have spent their lives praying for a day of change. People who have fed upon the scraps of yellow newspaper clippings, nourishing their minds on truth that has been diluted through corporate factories of state-approved journalistic media. People who labor away thanklessly unrewarded. People who look at the horizon and dream of someday crossing over. People who feel change in the wind and will lay down weapons and take up the pen to fight for it. This poem is not for I, me. This poem is not for us, them, they. This poem is for we. This poem is not for fundamentalists. This poem is not for Puritans, Christians, Muslims, the left wing, or the right wing. This poem is not for idealists. This poem is not for crusaders, jihadists, or martyrs. This poem is for people who are spiritually free from verbal segregation and linear thinking. This poem is for people who don't just quote from the Torah, Bible, or Quran, but say that the definition of a passage or line in any spiritual text depends on the situation of the person who is doing the reading. This poem is not for the man. This poem is not for a woman. This poem is not for colored people, black people, white people, yellow people, red people, or people who represent any different hue of brown. This poem is for people who are racially, sexually, and culturally unbiased. This poem is about awakenings. This poem is about establishing faith. This poem is about coming out of the haze and realizing that there is something worth fighting for. This poem is about breaking the chains of bondage, throwing your fist in the air, and sounding your barbaric cry. This poem is about feeling good. This poem is about being cool. This poem was designed to get you off, an audible cunnilingus that will never get tired or sore, because this poem will stay hard to the finish. This poem will give you a rush. This poem is euphoric. This poem will keep you up for days. This poem will rock you to sleep. This poem will make you laugh. This poem will make you cry. This poem will make you scream, yes, yes, oh Jesus Christ! And if you use this poem to roll a blunt, this poem will get you high as a motherfucker. This poem is about birth. This poem is about life. This poem is about death. This poem is about the beginning. This poem is about the end.
I am standing before you as a changed man. This change happened to me while lying on my back in the middle of a typical Kansas field right smack dab in the center of nowhere. I was laying beside her, the girl who gave me that change, the girl who shared her love with me, opened my eyes, and made plans about the future with me. This was also the girl who, 2 days later, admitted that she never did quite break up with her boyfriend, who was a cop, who worked at a jail. Needless to say, things went south. But before we stopped communication, before her mate's interrogation, before our separation, hesitation, trials and tribulations, she taught me to look at the world with eyes further open than before. And in that vision, I could see myself all that clear. I am I. Am I? I am a friend to a pack of runts in a world with laws against littering, their eyes glittering with shimmering optimism while stuck in a box at the pound like a prison. I could keep up the canine metaphors all night, but the truth is, they're underdogs struggling to fight. I myself am in the same boat, afloat in the center of a medieval moat, fire-breathing dragons shoving bills down my throat. Now I'm poor, my wallet's lost its bloat. On a funny note, at least the smaller lizards saved me a ton of money on my car insurance quote. One of the poorest and most in-debt people in my circle of friends, yet they expect me to make ends meet, keeping the label on their feet when I'm just trying to find something to eat. But every group needs a leader, and in that chair I sit. It's a tough job, but somebody has to do it. Their last leaders blew it. I'm here to see if the shoe fits. They've never let me down, so I will reciprocate. It's my fate to be the one they relate to. So I will care for them as much as I admire them. One of them is an asshole who disses humanity to get his kicks. One is a lesbian who can't stand chicks. One dances so good that he sheds his white skin. One prays for others and tries not to sin. One speaks and signs so fast you can see stars. And one smokes so much he should own stock in cigars. This motliest of crews all needed a friend. I am that man until I meet my end. I am. I am I. Am I? I am a son to the most amazing woman on earth who has done nothing but good for me since my birth. And while most rappers may dedicate a whole song to their mother, I dedicate my whole life to her, no other. A tug of war, my dad would say no, but she would say yes, always giving me the best. And as you might have guessed, this woman got no rest. And in our desperate mess, when all we had was each other when dad left, she spared nothing less and continued to be the best. To her, I was sweetie, baby, honey. And on occasion, I was son of a bitch when I acted up. But I sped up my growth process and I grew up my thought process, 'cause acting up is not progress. I was bad, but now I'm all too glad because mom brought me up not to grow up and be a douchebag. She was the reason I will never hit a girl. She was the reason I don't hurl every weekend, taking vodka in gulps and tequila in sips. In fact, she's the reason alcohol has still never even touched my lips. No drugs, not even cigarettes. My devotion is as deep as it gets when it comes to keeping a clear mind. Dig deep inside and what you'll find is old school morals, respect, and honor. 3 qualities that are now anomalies because you no longer see them on the streets. She always took care of me. To her, I'm number 1. I am that man. I am her son. It may be a character flaw, but I tend to take care of other people before I take care of myself. But laying in that field, I realize that the real me is just a disguise. My true spirit lies in the reflection of the eyes of these, my closest people. I am a friend, a lover, a brother, a leader, a son. And when I am no longer on this earth, I will exist still in these people's memories. The memories of my actions define who I am. I am I. Am I? I am.
To propound the certain propriety of this nation's society is certainly a histrionic speech that will never reach or overly open the devious path that we have so chosen. It's foolishness. A gambit of moving each of the pieces into a certain covenant of agreeing and incendiaring those who believe in the sacrilege of talismans. It's cruelness. Disgust, the brackish taste of a maelstrom that's so strong that the avid excitement of reaching the halcyon is impossible with this undulate myopic vision that we have so summarily accosted to the people of this world. Ergo, our celerity increases with a plethora of ideas that we have always been speaking. Its foolishness. And the erroneous of anachronism is the worst excoriation of religion with its crony and archaism trying to emulate the carping of prejudice. Eism. So, to dissemble myself from the credence of wealth, I cavort through the streets of distraught to decry the screams of help, exhuming my articulate, murky, feckless opinion, and I will surely evince to the people of utopia and causing unwanted disbeliefs and questioning of the infallible, the one who is he who has never been wrong. It's foolishness. But Day by day, the pieces fall like Tetris, fitting into an organization of insatiable, invidious people who never think twice before throwing in the towel. Incarcerating the ludicrous nettle that seems to be onslaughting the sides of every mortal that can eschew the stratagem consisting of jocular, viscous repugnance that is against the heavenly body that we ravish and call home. So I ask you this now, can you even characterize or spell out the words that you have irrigated? Hell, I can't even illustrate these words that I have just now uttered. Every time I unravel these pages in my head, I need a dictionary.
F-E-E. The flood. The flood is flood exponentially expected. So just flex your solar plexus and deflect the polar exits. Crush up a smile and fuck up denial and admit it. Who is goddamn kidding? No one but myself. Smitten by unlikely sensation of passion we must shelf. Stop to gain some traction but retracted to the former. Contract the absorber who seemingly knows but just supposes a retorter. Flow like rivers make borders. Shivers take important precedence. Please just try to ignore the evidence but point out the factual data. An actual creator of perfectly edited prose when approached by those who just knew the improperly placed quote. I feel chopping at my throat, so don't stop me, I just hope and pray. Well, maybe just hope, because hope floats boats and faith sinks ship like loose lips. Just break those foolish traits, replay prose till it aches the soul and takes your folded perception, and just accept the process inflection, the constant injection of conflict recession, mules condom ingestion that fondles intestines but bottles self-respect and smashes the esteem. Just passively I lean into crowds deemed obscenely mainstream, but just float back to the unclean. It smacked veins and bad taste, lacked place and retracted facial expressions. Hold up the speed, the mention of the fee, the flood exponentially expected.
Our temporary separation couldn't end my adoration, and in fact was beneficial. It lasted but a couple seasons, and she had assumed my reasons were merely superficial. I was much too young to feel this way, live to love another day, maybe just some time down this long and winding road. So here I go, my fear in tow, maybe just some time to grow. But it was seeds of loneliness I sowed. I lived to work, I lived to sleep, I lived to loaf, I lived to eat, a cavity within. So in fear's jaw, this gaping maw appeared to me my many flaws I need to love again. I searched and scoured as I flowered. Life's struggles make the man. What's done is done, but I need someone. Regret is on my hands. Time had passed, I called her fast to see how she was doing. I was a bastard, surprised she answered. Despise towards me was brewing. Nervousness, don't want to fuck up this, stopped short of a kiss when she was about to leave. What's going on in my dome? She cried her way home. Of my love fear had bereaved. She wanted explanations for my hesitations when I know that we just click. I tried to blame the correlation between menstruation and acting like a prick. But using her eyes, she saw through my guise, 'cause what lies betwixt my thighs. It's a dick. Ting to know that the one that you love like a white satin glove is pure, innocent, and clean. Now she loves me so well, causing my heart to swell like a demon, if you know what I mean. Now I live for her, love has occurred, and no one else can touch me. She keeps my heart, and I'll never depart, and the thought of another disgusts me. Beneath the moon, together we're immune to life's ever-present cutlery. Like Shredder and Crane, yin and yang, we fit together perfectly. She still questions why I departed, left her broken-hearted, alone upon the shore. I draw her near as a whisper in her ear, "You've got nothing left to fear, 'cause I'm afraid no more."
The dumbing of the American nation is not being brought to you by the Budweiser Corporation. This brew may be for you, but I refuse to believe that by imbibing the product of fermented hops or wheat, that IQ points will drop with each sip, and a country will be brought to its knees. Though I am remiss to admit, the beer company started the born-on-date bullshit. It will not be by inhaling or drinking that the American race will be faced with disgrace. I have found the enemy. It lies within. It's the television set, that old primetime friend. Did you know that most of your shows ride in on a signal that's beamed straight from hell? TV's the devil, and if you don't believe, ask yourself, who else would use flashy graphics and high-color schemes to mass-market appeal? CNN, Fox, and the rest, with their top-line headline tickers, the speed-reading clips, are just music video imposters with their video tricks. Always talking and running to be the first on the scene, details of the crime, view from the home front, reaction from the family. Then there are the editorialists, giving their views though they are biblical fact, telling you what and how to think, the in-studio expert expounding on the facts, the original MCs breaking it down for you before the truth is even known. And when they're done, we got Norman Rockwell picturesque families who take 30 minutes to solve life trivialities. Or on the next heart-pounding, blood-rushing, spine-tingling episode of your favorite drama, a story so shocking, you won't be able to look away. But though the similarities may exist, the following story is a work of fiction, because no one would survive week after week in that situation. If you're lucky, the movie of the week is a box office smash that has been stripped, censored, and sanitized so as not to offend innocent eyes. And when the cardboard cutouts are done, it's back to the newsroom to see the real drama of a world come undone. But oh, by the way, before we sign off and drone out the night with infomercials and repeated episodes from TV's vault, here's the one feel-good story, a token to get you through the night without too many bad dreams. 'Cause we'll joke and chuckle to ourselves as the credit run. For tomorrow, you'll be back for more of the same.
Give me back my radio, you corporate whores, you open sores with thick pocketbooks and equally thick skulls, your bullshit, no content, catchy super hits by ditzes and young white children trapped in 23-year-old black males. I want those old days when radio still played those no-plot club hits, yet still mixed it with fresh shit, with catchy chorus and quick wit. Hip-hop's torch was still lit, wasn't dimming or planning on quitting. And whatever happened to R&B? We've been told that the R in R&B stands for R. Kelly. But to me, R. Kelly is like the R&B version of Nelly now. Retarded content, toss it. He's trapped in the closet. Why is he trapped in the closet? I guess he's just trapped in the closet. Whatever happened to that? That girl is poison. Or this is how we do it. If you miss radio greats, don't worry. All bad stations meet their fates. Kill Power 93.9 and hope it reincarnates as something we don't quite hate. Where are my good hip-hop and R&B tracks? Give it back. I want it back. Don't make me beg. Give me back my virginity, Jennifer, because you sure weren't worth it. Don't make me throw a fit. Just hand it over. We'll be even. It's what I believed in, saving yourself for the one true love. I even turned down the act in a few relationships above her. But I guess when push comes to shove, in one moment, lust disguises itself as love, and with quick deception tells you to slide on that glove and dive in. Was it a sin? Depends on your religion. But what I do know is that it's hilarious and ironic how unromantic our first time was together in reflection of our horrible relationship. I lost my virginity in the back of a 92 Taurus. Not exactly a comfy situation. I'm a big guy, and in the back seat, I barely fit. I can't count how many times my head hit and my legs quit. It was like an automobile mosh pit. And to tell you the truth, she was pretty thick. I wasn't claustrophobic until that night. I honestly don't even recall climaxing. Lovely feelings lacking, but I do remember almost falling on my ass as I stepped out of the car, struggling to redress myself ankle deep in snow in negative 30-degree temperature. We were in Alaska at the time, and that was ironic too, because when I brought her back to Kansas, it's almost like she brought the chill with her, an ice-cold bitch that would put that sweetheart Angela out of her job. Jennifer used to hit me, and while most of you might look at me shifty, when I say I was repeatedly struck by a 5-foot-tall chick on a daily basis, I don't hit girls, so I just stood there and took it. Low self-esteem back then. When we weren't fighting, I continued to make love to her in low lighting. Until I realized I wasn't making love, I was just making sweat. Meaningless, primal sweat. Ridiculous. I stopped that act immediately. During a fight one night, like Mortal Kombat, she tested my might. Morally, I was done arguing orally and physically. She was dead to me, and in what must have been the freshest bit of insanity, I made her pack her shit quick, kept her lips zipped, blocked her fist like the Matrix, and dropped her sorry ass off at the Greyhound bus station. To this day, I don't know where she went after that, and I could care less. But if I run across her, I'm gonna say, "Hey chick, where's my virginity? Give it back. I want it back. Don't make me beg." This list is too long to say, but I can shorten it. Fresh-ass toys at the bottom of cereal boxes. Give it back. Dope, stupid cartoons like Captain Planet. God damn it, I want it back. Chicken Little sandwiches at KFC. Don't make me beg. The arcade at Town East. Give it back. The role-playing game Cyberpunk. I want it back. Syphil and Ollie late night on MTV. Don't make me beg. Christina Aguilera back when she first came out. Give it back. Fireworks that could actually blow your entire fucking arm off. I want it back. Hacking computers before programs did all the work. Don't make me beg. Give me back my life, Dad. Remember that new life you started with your new wife before you were divorced from my mother? Well, you forgot you were ruining another. About the same time you and your mistress were learning horizontal dances, I found out that adultery is not illegal in the state of Kansas. Whoa, back up. Ain't that jacked up? Marriage law is hacked up. I'ma chew that fact up and spit it in the face of the judge that awarded our house to the man who cheated on his wife, my life, and the knife in two backs. What this story lacks is an ending that makes sense. An odd justice dispensed unevenly, basically supporting the unsupportive thoughts evilly transformed into actions against the families it is supposed to protect. Bastards. It was your decision, Dad, that made my mom work mad hours to pay off the credit cards you left behind. It was your action that led to nights where my mom nearly drowned in Jack Daniels, locked in her room crying for days. It was your weakness that led me to create this awesome new food item called the bread sandwich. You take a slice of bread, fold it in half, and eat it. You asshole, you prick. Couldn't keep your prick in them pants. A prick from a thorn on my palms, blood from my piss clenched too tight, ready to drive a punch into that face slightly more powerful than the way you used to drive your van out into the country to bang your mystery chick. I want a life back when there was no debt to pay. No looking for a place to stay. No having to hold my head together like puzzle pieces to make it through the day. A life more happy, a future more bright. Give it back, I want it back. Don't make me beg. But wait, I don't have to listen to the radio, right? I can listen to CDs. The radio wants me back, but it can't have me. My mind and taste are free. My virginity? Hell, I got better memories. Did Jennifer want me back? Most likely. But my body is free. My father wants to repair the giant mistake. I guarantee it. But my life ain't that bad. In fact, it's better without you. That's right. I might wish I could change the past, but I don't need to. The past needs me, and it can kiss my ass.
Listen! As of this very moment, your words grow more powerful by the passing second. Listen! No is not an option nor an exception, for your words are those of overconfidence and of the truest testimony. Listen! Wielding this very power that has been your birthright since your very existence was conceived in thought, you shall overcome any obstacle barreled in front of your trotting race towards demise. Listen! Yes, demise is unavoidable to all who seek it or nay. Yes, you will be the one who chooses that one way in which you pass on to the so-called light embodied with holiness and perfect to those against belief and structure. Listen! You will be the last human on earth before you leave. You will be the one with words piercing the shield protecting the beating heart of stars and stripes. You will be the one to swoop down and negate this assassin of peace and justice. And you will speak now. Listen! Now is that time to rise above persecution of rights emballed across the very wrist at which bleeds out the very truth of pain and hate that floods the waters of our rivers. Covered by deceit, you and all around you, we must embrace the gift sown in our roots of our legacy. Become the word that will rock and shake the very orb you were written to die on in the testaments of old and new. Now is that time. Listen! Those thoughts you hear deep in your soul are not that of enlightenment, rather encouragement to do what is right, to speak what is right. Fight no more and no less than what is needed in our own mind and body. Peace and freedom are not handed in a silver platter for our consumption. They must be whispered among those able to speak it. You are able to speak this above and beyond more than you have ever realized. You need to listen, then speak.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Now settle down, this is no call to worship, nor a dissertation of the theological situation that haunts the 21st century nations. And I am not stating that by choosing to start with one sect saying that one religion is by far greater. But don't you find it funny that the two religions that constantly butt heads have such a musical call to praying? See, ever since the first hominoid stepped from the primordial ooze, we've gotten down on bended knee. We knew what to do. I don't care what you believe, though fiction is stranger than truth. I guarantee that at some point in your life you will be getting proof that miracles happen, that there is a higher calling, and it's got nothing to do with dogma or old gray men in funny hats, or clothing styles or hand gesticulations. Because there's only one ceremony that needs performed, and you can do it any time. Give thanks each day to Allah, to Yahweh, to God. Give thanks to the Buddha or Vishnu or Ra. Give thanks to the sun, to the moon, to the stars, to the birds, to the wind. Give thanks to the chemical process that brought you into being. Drop to your knees, tilt your head to the sky, and open your mouth wide, because like MC Hammer say, we got to pray just to make it today.
Rap versus hip-hop. Some people would argue that they are one and the same. That's lame. It doesn't matter if they came from the same fame. Shame on any dude or dame in the game if they say rap is hip-hop. These now are two separate entities. Hip-hop moves feet. It rides on beats and connects the streets with a message of peace and unity. Rap moves heat. It rides on beats and makes the streets compete with a message of beef and mutiny. Yes, you may have noticed they share one thing in common. They are both delivered to us via the backbone of beats, snare hits and bass, an up-in-your-face case of taste laced with flavor, the trace of a race long forgotten as these beats toss and churn with the ancestors of tribal drums in Africa. But although these entities might sound the same, do not be deceived, do not be fooled. The overall messages are different. Hip-hop reminds us of culture, community, politics, and self-expression. Rap attacks like a vulture, eating up stories of death, hoes, tricks, wealth, and degradation. And in a nation that has sheep quick to point a finger whenever someone gets shot, they say it's rap and hip-hop music. But hip-hop wasn't at that murder scene. That's guilty till proven innocent. In a sense, maybe music fueled these gents to act out and jump that childhood backyard fence, no supervision, a vision and lesson on the price of human life forgotten to be taught by parents. But the media and other close-minded wool wearers make sure to put hip-hop in the lineup of usual suspects. But best bet, hip-hop has an alibi. Always truth, never lies. He or she was at home, doing the math, subtracting dollars from dollars and smirking at the ballers and other money-grubbing stallers that are just in denial that they can't take it with them when they die. Meanwhile, while hip-hop is doing time in the prison of the hard-hearted public eye, rap is back at the crib, counting money stacks and chips that are not Pringles, eating slices of cake with gold sprinkles, with gold diggers with fake-ass smile, crow's feet wrinkles. But I remember hip-hop being about brothers and sisters and the love between them. It's rap telling people to compete and kill each other like heathens. Hip-hop doesn't bust shots, it tips them back during parties where all races and backgrounds are invited. It's playing Twister in the living room with fine-ass members of the opposite sex, laughing and living it up. Rap is down in the basement, hopped up on 5 ounces of Coca-Cola, slapping his bitch 'cause she won't shut up. These are two separate entities. Twins born from the same hood, one good and one not so good. If hip-hop was a left hand, it knows damn well what the right hand is doing. And MCs like me, not rappers, are out to fix this greedy takeover. Hip-hop isn't dead. Its eyes are red with no sleep, fed up with industry sheep and ready to attack the heat with ice cubes of cool, calm logic, putting out the hateful fire. Where has hate gotten anyone? When was it best to fire any gun? Rap is full of violence, all its lines carbon copies of 1,000 other lines. If they entered a battle with their twin, hip-hop would clown rap with yo mama jokes and genius punchlines. As a matter of fact, I have brought these two gentlemen here tonight for one final cipher battle to see who wins the rights to your ears and minds. In this corner, the originator, hip-hop. And in this corner, the newcomer with the attitude, rap. Each contestant will go 2 rounds of 8 lines apiece, and the winner will be decided by rounds of applause. Coin flip. Rap wins the coin flip. Battle. You go first. Yo, my name is Rap and I'm hard from the streets. I'll leave body counts higher than the Middle East. Blast you full of holes, make your body like Swiss cheese. This fat nerdy kid came to battle me? Bitch, please. I'll push my Cadillac, stick your gats out the window. Rap be planning to kill your family for real though. You can't mess with me, kid. I pack Uzis and pistols. I'm dropping bombs, bitch, and firing missiles. Yo, it's funny how you mention Swiss, cause fool, you're cheesy. This cracker's like a Cheez-It, you crumble that easy. You're mighty breezy. Speaking of guns in your flow, the only pistol you ever fired was full of H2O. You talk about body counts and call me a bitch, but what's leaving bodies is the smell from those nasty ass armpits. You're talking trash, a pile of rubbish, not respectable. I'll wad you up and toss you in the nearest waste receptacle. I'ma bring the pain to you, hip-hop, your life is mine. Old fogey in the hospital, I cut your lifeline. Blow your head off with my AK-47. Bloody Walt... fuck. Wait, where you going, Rap? I ain't done with you yet. I'm blasting your rhymes like my name was Boba Fett. Yes, I'm a vet, an old fogey in the years, but you're nothing but a rich brat that's wet behind the ears. Your flow consists of ways to rhyme AK with shotgun. Somewhere on the timeline you forgot hip-hop was fun. Tell you what, get a DeLorean with a flux capacitor. Here's the thing, go back in time and take this Trojan to prevent your birth from happening. By a round of applause, who was feeling rap tonight? Ooh. And by a round of applause, who was feeling hip-hop tonight? A wise man and musical elder, KRS-One, once said, rap is something you do, hip-hop is what you live. Never forget how it started.
I ain't no player and this ain't no game. I am but a man and we bleed all the same. I'm not a sinner and I am not a saint, but your trivial mentality seems so very quaint. Look, it's the werewolf. What up, though? Like a fatty on the rag, I got that heavy flow. My skills I hone with these rhymes that I create. Careful tweakage, calibrate. Give me a mic, I'll demonstrate. With flows that go in through your ear and echo out your mind. Speaking of which, you need to open that bitch and maybe you will find that you ain't gotta play it, thug. Listen up, here's the deal. Money isn't everything. Come on, man, keep it real. To change your ways is what I imply. Open your ears, but I guess that I cannot see what you can see. Something gone inside of me, something wrong inside of you. You live lies, but I see truth. Why don't you just understand money doesn't make the man? But to my logic, you turn a deaf ear. How do I convince you to switch up your gears? Because your mindset just don't seem right. Steady looking for gold, but you know it's pyrite. I'll try to keep it down, but I just might deck out the next fucker I see with gold fronts. Mouthful of dollars, but nothing for was runts. Only wants to dump his batter into cunts. Into anonymity, he will disappear. May I place my vote for Father of the Year?
Beating sneakered feet on the dark, cool street as we fly out of the side door of the church, fulfilling our weekly obligation. Diddy bopping down our course, already dropping goddams and motherfuckers, not 20 feet from where we just pulled a 60-minute stretch, trying our best to fake angelic in front of the faithful. We shot one another wide-eyed glances when the priest filled his golden cup with a bittersweet sacramental wine, which we have been led to believe will turn into the blood of the Christ. Served with the tasteless pressed wafer, which is prophesied to redeem the sinful heart of the Saturday evening communicant. We rushed down the side streets, eager to fulfill our redemption, fingers fumbling through leather jacket pockets with holes cut into the lining, a poor boy's quest to patrol the cavernous hiding place between the cotton lining and leather shell of his armor for the pack of cheap cigarettes he stole from the local gas station while his friends distracted the cashier. We make our way cautiously to our life-saving fluid tucked away in the alley behind the pizzeria. Cheap wine sits in the bottom of a trash can hidden under sacks of leftover pizza and decaying salad bar remnants. Protected by its cardboard lining, it cools in the late autumn atmosphere. We each pay double the original price, a fee begrudgingly accepted, such is the way when your source is a local boy in blue who pirates the evidence room. Soon we are performing our own communion. Extra large cups from the pizzeria take the place of the golden grail, filled to the brim with our black market brew combined with the burning embers of our cigarettes. We seek the recognition of our imagined maturity. Our eyes dart nervously, praying to whatever saint has been given charge over juvenile delinquents that we won't be caught. No one can be trusted in a small town where everyone is struggling to reach the inner circle that resides west of the railroad tracks, and stopping the youth from venturing down that well-worn, forgotten path of our elders would go a long way to ensuring such recognition. We strut downtown, holding our drink low and away from the street, our curled hands shielding our smokes from prying eyes, while the privileged teens drag Main Street inside shiny new cars, bought and paid for with the money their parents steal from our mouths daily. Inside their transportive status symbols, they hide parentally approved containers of high-end alcohol and are careful to only exhale puffs of nicotine when they believe no one is looking. We acknowledge their derogatory shouts with volleys of fuck yous and assholes and flashes of middle fingers raised high above our heads. Greeted by our fellow hoods, our communal wine becomes communal as we answer the secretive pandering glances with a drink and a smoke. We all gather at the downtown park, plotting our next move before the city's enforcers force us to move out from a public arena that is not so public. We trade plans for this night's excursions. Information is passed along, conveying the locations of parties, parentless homes, and stashes of alcohol and cigarettes. And oh, by the way, did you hear that Jerry got busted again with 2 sandwich bags of some of the best weed I have ever smoked? Yeah, we should ask around and see if they made it into the evidence room, and I wonder how much it will cost to liberate them. The girls hand out hugs and kisses for a choice few while the guys slap hands and perform complicated handshakes. And we all promise to see each other as some head to the movies while others trek down to the Greasy Spoon to pick up a large styrofoam cup and then to hunt for the promised warmth of wine or beer as the night begins to turn cold. We move on to sneak into the movie theater, hoping to find a couple of girls more interested in exercising their tongues than paying attention to the plot. We seek the center of the theater in hopes that our baseball metaphor efforts go unnoticed by the primate who stands at the back of the theater, shouting warnings to anyone talking or throwing trash. His bellowing, posturing voice thunders over the soundtrack as he threatens bodily harm to those who do not respect his commands. I manage to strut all the way to third base before this Neanderthal violently clasps his fur swathed hand about my neck, pulling, jerking me from my seat, dragging me down the aisle, all the while voicing his disgust as he attempts to mask his pain that I am half his age and can get more tit in one night than he can in a week. My partner in crime assails him with bastards, son of a bitches, and a wide range of slanders against his mother while the inbred malefactor tosses me out into the crisp night. Walking down the street, we meet with our fellow disenchanted, discarded disposables and run into the night, charging into quiet neighborhoods, breaking the peace and serenity with whoops and hollers, knocking trash cans over messily, loudly, gathering the tossed-aside beer bottles, flinging them higher and higher into the moonlit sky, sending sleeping dogs into barking, howling frenzies as they smash, crash, shatter against the pavement while we sprint on to the next block, vainly attempting to destroy civilization. Later, we lurk in the shadows behind a whiskey and beer joint, waiting for the bartender to bring out quarts of beer for which we once again painfully paid an inflated price. We tuck them inside our coats. For these we will savor, swishing the ancient secret recipe of fermentation given to us by men of God. We travel through the cemetery, performing gymnastic vaults off grave markers, then across a field rich in Kansas wild grass, throwing lit matches into the yellow vegetation, hoping to spark a wildfire, though the kindling is still wet from the autumn rains. We reach the rundown Forbidden Drive-In and clamber atop the decaying concession stand where we will spend the rest of our night's freedom drinking curse-laden toasts to the police, to the rich, to the fat bastard at the theater, to our parents, to our school. God, isn't it great to be 16?